Isaac, last time I said this, I got to do it live. What is up, Partner Up?
And you know what? Like, I feel like 3/4 of the audience immediately knew what you were talking about. You got a lot of listeners there at SaaS Connect.
That was kind of cool. I'm like, this is a risk. What if no one knows what I'm talking about? So that was awesome, man. It was so cool hanging out with you and the team. We got to hang out on the Partner Stack boat. Shout out Partner Stack. We got to release my tabletop speech too, right?
Yeah, I think we got some cell phone footage. We had our launch party happy hour, and we sort of goaded Jared into getting up on the table and giving a little spiel. And I don't know, he was feeling it. You got pretty fired up there, Jared.
Yeah, I was.
Do we have video?
I think we do.
This?
I think we got some cell phone video, proof. Lisa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that.
That needs to go.
We'll get that circulated.
Totally. So thanks everyone that we met at SaaS Connect. It was awesome having the Partner Hacker studio there. So if you didn't listen to the last episode, it's the best of SaaS Connect. We have a whole bunch of people from, did you end up getting Bryn on with Partner Stack?
I didn't get Bryn, but I got
okay,
Tyler from, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got Tyler, the VP of Marketing, Partner Stack. We got Sunir from AppBind. We got the Partner Fleet guys. A bunch of people on the podcast. So kind of the best of SaaS Connect. One person we didn't, though, is Lisa Lawson, who is currently gracing the homepage of partnerhacker.com.
That's
now
right.
Launched and live.
That's right. Well,
yes.
Welcome.
My 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, you're the only.
Thanks.
You're like the only image actually on the homepage. We have a really minimalist design where it's just like, the text of the articles, and it's you up there. You're representing. We got a billboard for the Partner Manager Accelerator course.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It was awesome to meet you in person very briefly, Lisa. We didn't get as much time to hang out as we should have. But welcome to Partner Up. And we'll give the quick plug too, so that if you go to partnerhacker.com, you should see that. It's in our emails, the Partner Manager Accelerator course. We won't do too much of a infomercial on that, but I'm really excited about it because I've taken these courses from Matt Cameron, and then Lisa partnered up with Matt to do the Partner Manager course. And Lisa, how we kicked this off was actually you mentioning something about like, hey, where's the training for this role? Like this channel, this partnership, this frontline partner manager role. What got you into kind of building a curriculum and a boot camp and a course around this topic? Because so many partner managers are trying to figure this out for the first time themselves. And then heads of partnerships that are like, okay, now I have to hire someone. Wait, how do I train them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real predicament, especially for these, there's thousands of fast-growing venture-backed startups out there who are accelerating their success through the channel and through partnerships, but there's no training for new partner managers. So my career, I've worked at startups pretty much my whole career, except for about 3 or 4 years that I did at Microsoft. So I got to see how Microsoft scales partnerships and channel and how they train individual contributors, which is, Cliff's Notes version really well. And then I moved on to more startups after that. I didn't want to do the big company thing anymore. I moved on to Optimizely and a number of other startups that were growing and scaling specifically their partnerships team really quickly. And I was managing a team, but there was no role-based training for partner managers. So here, I have a team of 20-somethings who this might be their first or maybe second job ever. And they're sent to the sales boot camp, which is great. You need to know how to fundamentally sell the product. But there was no role-based training for how do you do partner management activities that accelerate the partnership through each stage of the partner process. So how do you do a successful account mapping? What does that look like? Side Cliff's Notes, it's not get a spreadsheet of every account your partner has and every account you have. How do you do quarterly business reviews? How do you do mutual success plans? How do you do these activities that help your partners grow with your company and help you reach your sales goals? So that's a long way of saying I saw this need in the market, specifically for these fast-growing companies to offer role-based training for partner managers. And so I do that through SaaSy and with my partnership with you guys.
It's amazing how, we talk about we're in the era of ecosystems or the decade of ecosystems, and the MarTech stack just came out, the report with like almost 10,000, marketing tech things. And partnership tech, there's a couple hundred, but we're kind of projecting, hey, this is what's going to happen in partnership tech. This is growth industry. I mean, you saw it at SaaS Connect. There's a lot of energy. People are like, hey, I'm finally like, I'm the cool kid now. I'm getting attention. And yet this is a role that's very important, growing in importance, an increasingly large part of the go-to-market strategy. There's no real playbook. There's very little training. I mean, you go into marketing, you go into sales at any level, the amount of great stuff, boot camps, courses, blog posts, just content, books. It's huge. There's like 2 books about partnerships, there's one media publication I know of that just came about. So, we got that going for us, but there's very little. So it's really exciting to see you have a course specifically for that role, not just about selling or about marketing, but this nexus, this role that's emerging in importance in partnerships.
And you treat it like a boot camp.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. The enablement team at most companies has never been in our shoes, right? Like they don't fundamentally understand partnerships at most companies. There's obviously exceptions. There's great enablement people out there who have done partnerships. But you're right. Like there's no playbook for this role in particular. And so I've partnered with Matt. I've partnered with you guys to create a repeatable playbook and give relatively new folks who are new to this role and new to this particular space the tools they need to really get into role on day one and be successful. And I personally love it. I love working with people. And so this is something for me that's it's fun.
You've structured the course like almost like a boot camp, right? Cohort based. So like, tell us, this is maybe more of an enablement nugget and like a learning nugget that applies more generally across function, like partnership, sales, whatever. I've always been a big fan of like the 2-day like boot camp style format where it's much more intensive versus hey, here's these modules that you can take over, 8 weeks. And it's like, that's so hard to maintain that. Why was this format appealing to you? Like a 2-day boot camp and
the cohort. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think adult learning, should always be centered around like cohort based style conversations and exercises. So it works so well because every single person in the accelerator is in the exact same shoes. They're in the exact same role. They're experiencing the exact same challenges. And so when somebody says, hey, this partner isn't responding, what should I do? Or, hey, how do you guys do territory planning for partnerships at your company? People can immediately step in and say, here are the steps I've taken to either overcome this challenge, or, hey, let me share what I created to help you overcome that challenge way more quickly than you would if you had to make it up yourself. And so what it does is it sparks conversation, like real, genuine conversation. And we pair people up to do objection handling activities and role plays, and people get into it. They get into it because they're living it every single day. And you feel good when you can help someone else out. You feel good. And it feels good to bounce ideas off of people. It's where really people, when they leave the reviews, when they give us the kind of feedback on the course, the number one thing people say that they got out of this was just having a group of 10, 15 people, intimate conversations around how to overcome the daily challenges of their role. And so it's actionable.
It's amazing. I've done a lot of education and career programs over the years for a slightly different audience, some early career stuff. And I mean, almost every different version of learning in person, learning online, I've attempted. And it's funny, like you have this idea that, well, in this digital age, everything can be asynchronous. You can put up all this great content. And I had a program, we put in this incredible curriculum, and it was all these things you could go through self-guided, and it had little, check boxes, and you could go, interactivity, but it was all, it could all be done on your own pace, self-guided. And guess what? Nobody did it. Nobody did it. And when we said, okay, it's not self-guided, you're in a group, and the magic number seems to be somewhere between like 6 and like 25 or 30 cohorts. Like you can use kind of different types, but you're in a group of a couple dozen or a dozen people, and you have to show up live, even though it's like technically less efficient when you could go off and do it by yourself and then maybe only come together. there's just something that happens in that shared learning environment that you don't get in those sort of self-guided things. There's a magic that happens that you can't replicate. So I think it's always worth, if you have the chance, go read and learn on your own. But if you have the chance to jump in with 10 or 20 other learners at the same time, the benefits are always there. It's really hard to quantify. It's like trying to quantify influence in your channel. It's sometimes hard to quantify, but it's very real.
So tell us more about what maybe some of your favorite anecdotes are going through a course like this, and people hop into the classroom, the virtual classroom now, and they start learning in this format that we've been talking about. What are some of the things that people have said to you afterwards, Lisa? Like, holy cow, I wish. So you mentioned, doing like account mapping, right? So first off, if you're not using Reveal or Crossbeam, manual account mapping is definitely a pain in the butt. I'm sure that's been like augmented since the rise of those tools. But you mentioned like mutual success plans, some other components. What have been some of those things that people have walked away with like, wow, I was thinking about doing that completely incorrectly? I'd love to hear more to like, you don't know what you don't know. What were some of those moments that stand out to you?
Yeah, I think so a big component of the course is actually walking through an ideal new partner process, from acquiring that partner all the way through to that partner becoming really embedded in your organization. And so what are the activities you need to do to continue the momentum throughout that process? Because if you lose momentum, the partnership's over. So we go through different activities. And I think that's particularly some of the aha moments that people have are just around, what is a mutual success plan, and why would I do one with a partner? And what do you do in your mutual success plans?
Okay,
do you have
so
a template
I want to pause
for that?
right there. This is a very interesting thing, because you've seen more people go through this motion firsthand than I have. Are people getting stuck because they keep on trying to bring on new partners without actually going through what a success plan looks like? Is that more common, or is it, hey, I'm actually stuck trying to get this one partner, and it's like, oh, you should actually be looking at a different partner type? Because I feel like there's two very different challenges, which is like, I come into this partnership and I'm like, hey, give me leads, because my CRO said give me source pipeline. That's one problem. So then you never really get a success plan done, and you just burn through net new partners. Or you're really over-indexed on trying to make this partnership successful. That's like, why are you spending time there? That's a complete waste of time. Which one's more common?
So we definitely talk both. to be frank, I mean, we talk a lot about like, if there's not value in the partnership to the mutual customer, to the partner, to your company, and not just value, but quantifiable value. What is that quantifiable value? What is the actual value prop to the partner? And what is the value prop to the end customer? So we spend a good portion of the first day on just those mutual value prop exercises, and how you have to sell in partnerships and different value props to different people within the organization. So for example, a practice lead will have different expectations and needs for a partnership than, say, a practitioner or the product team. So how do you go about pitching all of these people and building a successful partnership? So there's that, and making sure you're pitching the right value props. You understand the benefits. It's the right partnership. It's the right priority. Like, prioritizing your time is a big part of the workshop. Because as you know, partner managers just get pulled in so many different directions. So there's that. There's, is this the right partnership? Am I pitching the right value props? Am I pitching it to the right people? How do I fix that? But then there's also just this light bulb moment that goes off that's like, okay, and every partnership at every company is different because their product is different. So their process is slightly, everyone's process is slightly different. And the activities they need to build the partnerships are slightly different depending on type and product. But there's a light bulb moment that typically goes off around, oh, wow, like, I shouldn't just do a mutual business plan or a mutual success plan for the sake of it. I need to make sure it's the right thing to do. And this is how others have done it successfully. And here's a template for it. So where does that fit into my process? Or, should I do quarterly business reviews with every partner or just my top tier partners? There's a lot of conversations and prioritization and tools that we give people to help them answer those questions about their own book of business and their own partners.
So I'm thinking to your, career that you sort of briefly encapsulated for us before, and I've got to imagine that when you're at Microsoft, there are things you wish Microsoft did well that startups do really well, and there are things you wish startups did really well that Microsoft did really well. I'm wondering if you could give us like a story to illustrate, let's say with your time at Microsoft, like what's an example of, where a company like Microsoft you wish could pick up some of the things that earlier stage companies do really well, and vice versa. I always find those kind of comparisons and those kind of stories and illustrations to be really interesting.
You hitting her with the hard questions, Isaac. The Venn
that is a hard
diagram
question,
between
but
Microsoft and startups.
Yeah, that was my Microsoft years was also a long time ago. So I'm gonna have to think about that one. But for me, I'm a fast-paced startup gal. I like the fact that I can just, if I see an opportunity, I can go for it. But the thing that Microsoft really gave me and gives all of its employees is structure, scale. Like, how do you do sales and partnerships and channel at scale? They do it really, really well. They have endless resources when it comes to technology and not having to sit and do really manual tasks. They've automated a lot of that. And so that's really great because you can just focus on the business. They taught me how to scale. They taught me what it looks like to work at a scaled company and the processes and the resources you need for that. Startups, they don't have the process. They don't have the scale yet. So part of the fun is building those things, in my opinion, and getting to affect the strategy and the direction of where you're going and why you're going that direction.
Being able to see, okay, this is what it looks like at scale. I imagine that helps a lot when you go to that early stage company, because then you know where you are today, and you obviously can't do all the things Microsoft is doing today. But you can ask yourself that question. You can hold that example in the back of your mind and say, if we go about it this way, is that something that can lead us to that other point? Or are these completely divergent paths, right? To have had that experience, to see what it looks like at scale, I think maybe can kind of help you. I know that I've found that to help ask the question is like, is what I'm doing today capable of becoming that? Or is it in the wrong direction?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you know what a company like Microsoft really gives you is they give you training, which is relevant to our conversation today. They gave me so much training, not just role-based training and how to sell and that type of just general business training, but a lot of emotional intelligence training, understanding my skill set, understanding where my blind spots are, which, I'm a firm believer should be incorporated into all trainings, because if you can really focus on what you're good at and scale that, and you understand your blind spots so that you can kind of tweak them, you're going to be more successful in business.
So you don't have to go work at Microsoft. You get the best of both worlds. You can keep working at your awesome startup, and you can go through Lisa's course, and you can get some of that training jam-packed into a nice 2-day experience. So there's the promo spot squeezed in there.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, Isaac.
I actually want to pivot for a second. Lisa, so you've been teaching this course, and you've seen kind of like some, I can't really say generations of cohorts, but you've seen, let's say, yearly. So like there were cohorts pre-pandemic, and there's cohorts during the pandemic, and then there's cohorts today. What do you think has been the major shift in terms of the people coming into these types of classes over the past 3 years? Because I feel like it's really shifted and changed a lot in the past year. But I'm curious from your vantage point, because you've been teaching these classes for a bit, like what have been the predominant shifts? Like what is different about the classes that are coming in, the types of companies? Are they earlier stage? Are they later stage? Are they all first-time partner manager roles coming from the SDR cohort or from sales? Like, what are some of the commonalities you've seen shift over the past, couple years of giving these courses?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as we've all in the industry been talking about, partnerships, ecosystem strategies are gaining a seat at the table. And so with that, and especially during COVID, they gained a seat at the table because event marketing was no longer happening. Traditional marketing and sales channels were no longer working, or they were really expensive. And so people had to pivot. And so people saw, okay, I really do need to invest in my partnership and ecosystem strategy now. And so that means I have to hire people. And so what I've seen is just more demand for the course because people need to ramp their partner and channel managers quickly to hit their goals. And more and more, I would say folks coming from like the SDR role, coming from partner development rep roles, so the more junior partner roles, it's just about acquiring new partners, that kind of first part of the partner process. I'm seeing a lot of those folks get promoted and come into the course. And even some sellers, some experienced sellers who've made the shift over to managing, really big strategic partnership BD type jobs come over. And even though they're experienced at selling the product, experienced at, going through an executive sales cycle, they still are lacking the foundational knowledge of like, even just vocabulary, different types of partner strategies. What does OEM really stand for? They might not have ever gotten that. And so
that applies perfectly to software.
Exactly. And so why a bunch of SaaS startups are using that term and throwing it around kind of loosely.
And different companies use it in different ways. You really don't, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. So just the fundamentals, an aspect of the course the first day is literally just reviewing vocabulary and different types of partner models and why you would use each and how each kind of optimizes your company goal. And so just that is really helpful for someone who's new to the world of partnerships to just get that leg up and get it quickly at the beginning of this role versus 6 to 12 months in when they've just had to, baptism by fire, learn everything.
I do like that particular approach to learning is just I call it FITFO. Anyone know what FITFO means?
Mm-hmm.
Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
I've used that. I've used that a lot at the same time. I think you need something like this because I've been given that. That's been thrown at me a lot. And the first thing I try to do is the way that I approach learning is how do I immerse myself for 24, 48 hours in something? And then I'm like, okay, boom, let me run and mess up and figure things out. But figuring it out by yourself, what you end up doing is you end up spending, to your point, so much time on stuff that's wait a second, that's a nice to have at scale versus I need to figure this out right now. That's why I've always it was kind of a leading question asking about, do people chase, big partnerships and then ignore the masses, too frequently, or do they, try to oversell to the masses and ignore the top 2 or 3 partners they should really have a win with? I've always ran towards, I got to win my big partner, right? I have to win that ecosystem node that's going to get me dozens of other ecosystem nodes.
Right.
There's not that much stuff out there on strategic alliances. So you really do need to have some baseline understanding, get into a place where you're okay, I know what good looks like. And then you can go get that success story that can turn into dozens and dozens of other, success stories. So with that in mind, Lisa, I want to kind of go from transitioning from what you've seen kind of people coming into the cohort classes. We opened up the episode with SaaS Connect. I'm actually curious your take. What was the most interesting thing you saw at SaaS Connect? What was the best story or the topic or thing that you were this really is, solidifying or codifying something net new or, in the world of partnerships that might have surprised you even?
I think for me, what I walked away with was just the sheer amount of energy that is behind the space right now. I can remember I ran the San Francisco Partner and Channel Meetup This was pre-pandemic. This was probably 5 years ago. And, we'd get 12 people. And then at the next one, we'd get 25 people. And then we were excited to get 30, So that was 5 years ago. That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This is the first in-person event I've seen with a quantity of partner people all in one place. And we're talking, how many people attended? There were hundreds.
Like 450, 430, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere between 400 and 500.
Yeah. So to be in a space with 500 people talking about frameworks for partnerships and channel strategies, the importance of partner and channel strategies, how to sell it into your organization, how to build it from the ground up, how to build your career on it, was just amazing. So there wasn't really, to me, a specific standout talk. It was just more this energy and excitement behind the space that was not there pre-pandemic. That is there now.
I'm curious. There was a talk. I think my favorite was Brian from PartnerStack, and he opened with, he was talking about this question that they asked themselves, because their company started as something different, and they were basically trying to sell. It was like something for like nonprofit fundraisers or something. Like it was a Slack for nonprofit, something like that. I'm trying to remember, but basically none of them wanted to sell. They didn't like doing sales, and so they started with this question: what if we had no sales team? The question: what if we had no sales team? And that led them to this really robust partner thing, and it ended up that PartnerStack was the better business than what they were trying to sell. But that question I found to be the most compelling and provocative thing I heard there. And so I think that's maybe a really interesting thing, for people who are going to, who are in partnerships or who are learning partnerships. Of course, your company's not going to get rid of their sales team. And I'm not saying you should or they should want to, but I think asking yourself that question: what if my company did get rid of our sales team? What if we had no sales team? How could I, as a partner person, make up the difference? What would that look like? What if everything we did had to come through partnerships? How could we be at that level? And that maybe is like a really good North Star sort of question.
I love those questions.
Yeah,
that's us. That's going to be us. No, I got to give a previous guest plug. Matt Query from ROI DNA. Do you know Matt Query from ROI DNA, at least by chance?
I think our paths have crossed. I don't know him personally, but we did work with ROI DNA at Optimizely.
Gotcha. So like they were the most amazing drift partner ever. Matt's team was phenomenal, and they were growing double digits, like actually 100% year over year. Like they're crushing it. And Matt has no salespeople, Isaac. 120 person agency. And they have no quotas. Everyone is measured on client success. And it was like the episode to me it blew my mind. I was like, wow. And they're crushing it. Like their retention's hot, their net retention, like everything is crushing it for that agency. It's one of the best agencies in the world. So like asking the question, what would we do without sales? I'm like, I don't know. There's a couple of anecdotes out there that, it doesn't mean every model, but, I was pretty impressed with what they've done with ROI DNA. It can be done. I'll put it that way. It can be done.
There's a couple of partner first companies out there that don't have sales teams, and it's interesting, and it keeps them focused. It is a way better way to go to market for those specific products and those specific companies. And that's, I think another thing is that that the course does is it gives you frameworks for thinking through these questions. Like what partnerships are the most important to our business? How should we go to market with them? So it just helps you get down to the importance of what's going to make the biggest impact that is aligned with your company's core goals.
Right. And I think
so. As a newbie to this space, I feel like I'm observing something, and I'm curious if this is correct, that what has been traditionally known as partnerships for several decades now, kind of like channel partnerships, that is, I don't know if it's waning, but it's certainly, there's something new that seems to be growing much faster. Like what partnerships mean now in a SaaS startup is something very different than like the old, sort of idea of the channel partner. What like, where do you see that? Because again, I almost struggle with this term partnerships because it means so many different things. It can mean affiliates, it can mean tech integrations, it can mean co-selling or agencies that are, it has so many different meanings. In that whole, bundle of different things that are represented by partnerships, is there an area that you see that is like really hot right now? Like what is the new it thing? What is the thing that's growing the most, or what type of partnership?
I mean,
you can't say all of them. I know you're going to say all of them.
Yeah. No. I would never.
Is it
I think there's, so let's take it, I think ecosystem has a lot of momentum right now, but I was just going to say, let's look at it from let's answer this question from like a services partnership type and then like a technology partnership type. I would say from like the services kind of models, definitely like implementation partners are, have always been very important, and continue to be very important for SaaS companies that don't have services teams in-house and don't want to build those out. On the tech partnership side, I think it's interesting. I think what I actually see working I think the like ecosystem kind of model and app store model is continues to grow. I also have been seeing more and more companies working through a like embedded or OEM type strategy as a way to really scale.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And scale their sales.
I'm trying to think of like as a customer of many of these products, the way that I've discovered new products has increasingly been through like an integration, but not just being because I don't go looking. I don't just say, you know what, let me go browse Slack's directory of integrations and see if I find anything new, right? Like I don't go searching for them. It's more like when the integration is somehow part of the flow, right? You're onboarding to something or you're using, Gusto or whatever service. And right there, they've got try our new X with company Y, like that kind of where it's a combination of being an integration, but it's more active than just a listing in your app marketplace. There's something more robust there. At least for me, like that is what I keep seeing as, oh yeah, this is a partnership and this is how I'm discovering new products.
Integrated partnerships. I don't know, but the powered by, the gray label, the OEM, the that was a big part of what we did in the last companies. Embedded.
Well, yeah, I know. And see, even just us, we are partner professionals, and there's a million different terms. Like there's not everyone's throwing around all the what is the different embedded OEM. What are the other terms we just, white label? What are truly the differences between these terms and how can we standardize?
That's huge. I'm really interested in that as being, again, like, all right, let me get my crash course. I'm drinking from the fire hose here. And I keep asking myself like, wait, is this the same as this? Why is somebody calling it this when it seems like there's just there's so much overlap and redundancy, but I think that's part of the excitement too, that we're in from a very, very high level. It's essentially your customers are not going to discover your product through you directly telling them about it. They're going to discover it through some other activity or place that they're hanging out, and they encounter it in the flow of something that they're doing. And it's another person other than you that owns the real estate or where their customer is hanging out or the relationship with the customer. And you are entering that pre-existing sort of space. Like if you're going to zoom out from that sense, anything that fits that is like partnerships. And then all the labels that start to get confusing, but there's something that's really exciting about these things kind of being defined as we speak.
That was Isaac's promo clip right there. I loved it. Isaac, that was like on point, man. There's this new feature in the podcasting app where I can actually mark clips as like the producer. So I've got like 3 clips so far. So keep bringing it.
There we go. Yeah, that makes it easier for that's a great feature, by the way. I love that. Shout out to Riverside.
Yeah, we got to get some banter in here too. So I love what you said, Lisa, about the energy. Confession: I've never been to a partnerships conference or meetup of any sort, of any kind. And Isaac, you know what I was really worried about? I was really worried about this conference feeling very similar to some of the political conferences you and I attended back in the early 10s or the late aughts. We're very smart people, but hard to call them all your friends. Just like, wow, you're kind of ahead of the curve, but you're maybe too far ahead of the curve. Like you're off the social cliff. And I never felt more welcome and at home than I did at SaaS Connect. I've been to dozens of SaaS type conferences, sales, marketing, you name it, B2BMX, SaaSter, Dreamforce, Inbound, like, the big logo conferences down to the massive ones. And I felt like everyone was really genuine. People were willing to like engage in a quick convo, realize there wasn't much partner value, like part ways, no big deal. Or like go really deep and like strike up a deal and be like, hey, we really should work together on X, Y, or Z. And as like a note of trust, I feel like the people that were there and the people that are going to be at Supernode in Philly or, the next partner conference, like there's a lot to be built off of this early momentum that feels even better than MarTech did in 2012. So like that energy combined with the people that are like, they're not socially awkward. Partner people are people. And I think they're like geeking out and learning and ahead of the curve as much as anyone. I'm excited by the dynamic, right? So it's the energy plus, hey, this isn't some awkward, group of people. Like these are amazing folks, really willing to help each other grow themselves and their businesses. That was a really
so this is a good question. This is a good question for you, Lisa. I'd be curious your thoughts on this. The personality attributes of that tends to be a good overlap with partner people, because this is one thing that, again, I've worked a lot with early career people in my previous companies, and one of the things that we've always found is like helping people kind of understand their personality and then say, hey, given that you're highly empathetic and you have a high attention to detail, maybe customer success or whatever, you can find these different overlaps. I'd be curious with partnership people, because I go into this conference, I thought it was really funny. I was actually quite blown away with like, wow, these are like really high quality people in an interesting way. I've been to like startup comp, right, where there's a bunch of tech startup founder types, and you have a similar, like there's a cool energy, but there's also this like really like socially awkward sort of geeky, nerdy tech thing, right?
Hey,
that can sometimes be
nerdy at the SaaS Connect, but it was the good kind.
It was the good, right? But then I've also been to like your typical because I've been to like business enterprise. Like I always think of that meme when the guy's saying like, "Ha ha, business," right? Like my kids always mock me when I'm on a phone call for work. They're like, "That was a work call, wasn't it? That you used your business voice, Dad." But so you think of like business, like sales guy. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Shaking hands, handing out business cards. And I feel like this partner, the SaaS Connect, it was this perfect merging of the good attributes of both of those. The like laid back, keep it real, startup energy, but there's like a professionalism, not like to like a douchey sort of salesy thing. I don't know. So what personality traits, what besides the fact that they're all from Canada, what other attributes do we have that make good partner people?
Which makes them inherently nice.
That's what I think. Yeah.
So I think, you don't choose partnerships as a career path or ecosystem if you don't like working with people, number one, and working cross-functionally across a lot of different roles. So because both internally with sales, with marketing, with product, with the executive team, you have to work every day with these different roles. And because externally you're working with lots of different types of partners and executives at these partners. All the way down to the practitioner or to the product team building the product, you have to be good at the soft skills, right? Like you have to be good at relationship building skills. You have to be good at conflict management. You have to, that's partner managers, all they do all day long is conflict management, or not conflict management, but they're putting out fires and working through hiccups. So problem solving skills, emotional intelligence, communication skills, motivation skills. You're like the manager of a whole sales team. Your partners are kind of your team, under you. And so you have to really have strong motivation and communication skills. So yeah, there's those kind of the softer skills to partner managers. And then I think there's the like core competencies of like, can you, do you have subject matter expertise? Do you have like effective meeting skills, like effective selling skills? Can you navigate a multi-party sales process? There's all those things. And that's also the stuff that I really love helping, newer folks to this role figure out, like, what am I already really good at? And what do I know that I want to improve on?
Yeah. Or what do I know? Hey, look, I'm just not very good at that. Now that I know it, when I need that skill, I've got to partner up with someone who can complement that. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love what you said about needing to motivate. And that I feel like, okay, if you're the head of any department, you motivate your team, but when you're motivating partners who don't work in your company, that's a different level of the ability to, because they don't have to, right? Like their job doesn't depend on them doing a good job as your partner necessarily. Some of them may, but that's like another, getting them enrolled and enlisted in what they're doing with you and wanting to keep doing it, keeping them motivated. That's a high level of motivation. That's the kind of motivation that a company founder needs to have, right? Because it's your baby, it's your vision. Nobody else has the same level of agency. How do you get them to get on board with that? I think that's a really powerful one.
Yeah. And that's a big question that new partner managers have. Like, they're new to role. All of a sudden they have to motivate a whole channel of partners. How do you do that? And that's something that, like, discussing with other people in their same shoes to hear what works and best practices is really valuable.
There's something about the moment and being better together. I think that's kind of in our mission, is to create a place in a world where everyone can win together. So going through a cohort together, doing partnerships together, learning out loud. That's why I've always loved the stuff that Isaac's done, is like he's convinced, thousands of up and comers in their careers to learn out loud, right? To do it together. I think in a world where we're increasingly like, there's more factions than ever. Like there's so much like breakdown of like what normally unites people. It's like, there's a lot of decentralization happening. I think faster. Like, I mean, there's obviously centralization happening at an increasing rate, but there's decentralization happening at an increasingly rapid pace. And, I don't know. That's what the partnership moment to me feels so beautiful, so to speak, and why I love SaaS Connect and this course that we're promoting out. Lisa, I think on that note, that's like the perfect spot for us to cut it for today. It was a pleasure having you, and it was awesome meeting you at SaaS Connect.
I know, you too. Thank you. I'm glad to know you have a green tinted couch.
Well, and hey, we got really fortunate that the home repairs, Lisa said, it might get loud in the background. I didn't hear anything. So
yeah, they're not back yet. So for folks listening, I'm having new appliances installed, and they've run into, as you do, issue after issue. And I've been waiting any second now for them to come in, but I'm worried they didn't.
Well, maybe to riff off of Sunir's talk about where he talked about what AppBind does. Maybe the reason they haven't come back is because they're waiting at the hardware store. They can't buy the materials. You have to drive there and buy them yourself, like the way that agencies have to sell software. So yeah,
exactly.
They've been texting me, Lisa, give me your card number, and you're like, wait, that doesn't sound secure.
Oh.
Yeah.
We just too much fun. Hey, thanks so much, Lisa. Really looking forward to getting this course cranking.
Guys.
Absolutely. So check it out, everybody, at partnerhacker.com. If you aren't watching us on YouTube, come check us out there. We've been growing steadily. And also, Partner Hacker, our LinkedIn page has been taken off. I don't know, we got some social presence everywhere. So we'll see you where we see you. I'll stop plugging channels as much anymore because I feel like we're doing okay everywhere. But if you haven't checked out partnerhacker.com, what are you even doing? I might release as a special episode a reading of the manifesto, which is that's got a lot of acclaim. Any other plugs? I guess I'll see people at Supernode in a week and a half that are going to be there by the time this is live.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're all plugged out
all
for
plugged
now.
Out, people. All right, Partner Up. We'll see y'all next time.